Welcome back, everyone. Good evening. It is a lovely Friday evening. Certainly out here in, I was going to say sunny Spain, but the temperature's dropped quite a bit the last couple of days. We've got a debutant on the show tonight. It is Richie Taylor, who is the party leader for Advance UK. Richie, good evening and a very warm welcome, my friend.
Well, thank you, Paul. I am a virgin to your show. I'm looking forward to it and really excited. I've been watching your podcast, of course, with keen interest, and especially the interview you done with Ben Abbey. Thought it was fantastic, by the way. And the one you did last night with Richard Inman and a few other guys. Were you on that one as well? Absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic. So great
good
show,
stuff.
mate, and a pleasure to be on with you.
Thank you very much. And you're doing some wonderful work over there in Wales. But what we'll do is we'll come to that a little bit later on in the show. I'll tell you what, we'll probably touch on it before. If anyone's wondering why Richard is not in his chair, he's not the invisible man. He's been called. He's been called out on a quick domestic, and he'll be back hopefully any minute. But Richard will be. Actually, I quite like this version of Richard. You're right, Richard. Yeah, it's the quietest I've ever heard him. Look.
He's got a great face for radio, hasn't he?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm enjoying this new Richard. But no, he'll be along soon. So before we get into the meaty stuff for tonight's show, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for Advance and what's going on down there in Wales.
Well, yeah, back in about 4 weeks ago, Ben Habib, as part of the college and a member of Advance UK, Ben came to me and said, Rich, look, would you like to lead the party in Wales, lead the charge, and because I've had close friendship with him since 2016, I was involved with the Brexit Party, the Reform, etc., left under similar circumstances to Ben, really. Still have lots of friends with the Reform Party, still talk a lot of them. But I felt that they were not the party that I originally stood for, that they morphed into something completely different, that Farage was a political chameleon, and I lost all faith in him as a leader. And he was flip-flopping here and there, and I thought, I can't be part of that. If I'm going to be part of something, it has to be authentic, it has to be real, it has to stick to its core key principles. And I found that in Ben. And so when I asked him, when I spoke to him, sorry, and he asked me to lead the party Wales, I was like, I was, first of all, I was scared. I was like, whoa, that's a big thing to ask, because Wales might be a small country of 3 million people, but it's still a big task, to put on one's shoulders. But I looked at what was happening in Wales and the levels of deprivation that we've seen under 2 decades of Welsh Labour, and in particular how devolution has sadly failed the people of Wales. I can go across the board. I don't want to list things because it's quite a boring list, but it's huge. And we're hitting all the wrong records. We compare ourselves to the other nations like Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland. Wales is one of the worst. I mean, I could take you back to the lockdown period, where the worst lockdowns in the whole United Kingdom under Mark the Emperor Drakeford. Such draconian measures. I mean, it was tyrannical what he did to the Welsh people. It's unforgivable what he did. And I then, Ben asked me, and I give it some thought. I didn't say yes straight away, because I needed to think about it, because, when you lead a party for me in Wales, there's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of energy, and you're relying on a lot of volunteers as a brand new party, as we currently do, because we're building from the grassroots up.
Yeah.
But what endeared me to Ben was his authenticity and his transparency. He's not changed. He's not swerved with the political winds since 2016. He's been very consistent. In fact, I run a podcast many years ago called Rich Politics, and had him on my show then. And what he was saying back then, Paul, he is still saying today, unlike many of the other politicians. And so after a few conversations with him, I made the decision. I spoke to my friends, women at my team here, and said, look, we've got one last chance here. We're living in very dangerous times. We are living in a time where our country and our nation is changing demographically rapidly, and we've got to do something about it. If not for us, then for our children and our children's children. And I think for that reason, Paul, that's why I stepped back into the political fray, back into the boxing ring, and here I am. And things in Wales, we're growing. We've just started a mini tour. We were in Carmarthen this week, meeting with members there. We had people join up that came with the members. We're going to be in Swansea. We're going to be in Blackwood. We're going to be in many different places. And then Mid Wales, North Wales. We're travelling around the country, just having social gatherings. Because it's important people realize we're not just another political party, because we're not. We're one big, huge family of warriors and lions. and in Wales's case, dragons, right? And we want to put the fire back into the belly of our nation again. And I think that's so
Absolutely.
important. And those are the silent majority of people in this country and nation. And I believe that Wales has a place to play in that as part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
100%, my friend. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, Labour has been traditionally, obviously, a big Labour stronghold for forever, really. How hard is it going to be to change the minds of the Welsh people?
It'll be a big challenge. I'm under no illusions, even though I'm very passionate. My passion sometimes gets the better of me, but I'm also, balanced in my approach in understanding the history of where our politics is in Wales. Since devolution, which by the way was a Blairite project, like many other projects that he set up, has been an absolute freaking disaster for British citizens. We have seen the lowest levels of education in the United Kingdom. Our NHS is collapsing. Waiting lists way longer than England. We've got virtue signaling beyond description in Wales. We've declared ourselves, I certainly have, a nation of sanctuary. The money they spend on hotels for asylum seekers is huge, astronomical. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I think what we've seen in Wales, if I go back historically, we had the Thatcher years, and she was a demon in a lot of Welsh people's minds, right? Because she shut down the coal mines.
Yeah.
She took milk out of the kids' schools, and used to have milk when I was in school. I'm 50 now. You go to school, you have a bottle of milk every morning. And she decimated, really, many of the hard-working mining towns across Wales, the valleys, and towns and cities as well. And so I think there was a general reaction to the Thatcherite era that people then would move towards Labour. And Ira Bevan in Eberville, the founder of the NHS, and so it's always been a very strong Labour held place really for many years since we've known devolution. So they've always been in power. We've never known nothing else. It's been said if you put a red rosette on a donkey, people would vote for it. They literally get their voting paper and they just Labour vote. Because the ideology in their mind is Labour is for the working people. It's for the working class people. But we all know that socialist, the champagne socialist, we know they're not that anymore. You can talk about old Labour, new Labour. They're not what they used to be. They do not represent the hard-working men and women of this country. And I'm afraid...
My dad and my granddad used to vote Labour back in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, they wouldn't touch that party with a barge pole today.
No. Well, they're completely different. I mean, if you look at it, they're more... if someone said to me about the Conservatives and Labour Party, they're two cheeks of the same arse, right? There's no different. And, and we're seeing now, and I'm going to say, we're seeing watching Reform move to that centre left as well. I mean, occupying that area. So it's not a uni party, it's a triune party that we're going to end up with. And that is why I think it's important. And people say to me, why be part of another party? Why start another political party? What's the point of Answer-UK? There's a huge reason why that's happening, because there's a huge vacuum in our political landscape right now, and we must do something about it, because otherwise we're going to be faced with the same old, because they're becoming part of the establishment. And I think what Ben has set up and what we're part of, I know you're part of the college too, Paul, is an exciting political party which is completely different from all the other parties out there.
Yeah, what I love about it is it's what I would call ordinary people. And I tell you what, not just ordinary people, I mean, when I say ordinary, the people that I'm aware of in advance, they're astonishing people, but at the same time, we're all ordinary people, if that makes sense. Can you be an astonishing person and ordinary at the same time? I believe you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it's full of people that just want to do their absolute best. But, with the news today, which we'll get into a little bit deeper when Richard finally makes it into his seat. I mean, look, if David Lammy can become deputy PM, so can I, so can you, so can anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
They used to think that football, I can't remember who it was now, but if he can play for England, so can I. Was it Carlton Palmer, I think it was? I don't know. But I mean, honestly, mate, when that news come through today...
Well, I think the news cycle today with the reshuffle of the cabinet, I mean, I think we all looked at it and we were either like, that's a parody account, or we all just burst out laughing. I mean, it's since Rayner's kind of resignation. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But you talk about David Lammy. I mean, this is a guy who believes that men can have cervixes, I mean, this is a guy, remember, who called Brexiteers Nazis, and he's now the deputy, prime minister, deputy minister. And I just, you look at the whole thing, and let's not forget as well, we talk about Angela Rayner's step, she'll come to a bit later with the dodginess on her Three Homes Rayner. But David Lammy, in 233 days in office, he spent an average of £521,000, right, on food and drinks and entertainment, all that kind of stuff. That's about £2,238 a day. Yeah. State pension is, I've written it down so I got it, state pension is £31.60 a day. This is a guy who's living a lavish lifestyle for back of taxpayers, and yet he's going on to tell the rest of us, and now he's been promoted to this, this office of being the deputy prime minister. It's a piss stick, mate. It's an absolute piss stick.
I'm actually wondering as well what they're thinking about it in the White House, because obviously Lammy is not Trump's favourite guy. He's not J.D. Vance's favourite guy. And before we go any further, just for anyone that's interested or anyone that wants to label any accusations, I couldn't give a monkey's chuff what colour David Lammy is, right? I don't care what colour Shabana Mahmood is. I don't care what colour anyone is, right? I don't like David Lammy because I believe he's a racist. I believe he's very stupid. I believe he's a bit thick. And I believe he's a troublemaker. That's why I don't like him. I don't like him for those reasons, not for any other reasons. And I just think he's a very, very stupid man. And, what was it? I mean, look, at the end of the day, I suppose he gives people hope in the respect that if someone like him can find himself in a job like that, then any of us can. Reach for the stars, everyone, because, oh my God, I mean, if they wanted to raise the temperature of the nation or give them a good laugh, whichever way you look at it, I suppose in one way, everyone was angry. I know I was spitting feathers this afternoon. But as the evenings wore on, I actually think it's quite funny. I mean, this government have got to the point now where they have no credibility left, none whatsoever. They're just an international joke, in all honesty. A total embarrassment.
Yeah.
There's not an ounce of trust. Absolutely no belief in this government. I'm just wondering what they have left to beat us with, to be honest.
Well, they're actually self-imploding in front of our very eyes, aren't they? If you think of what's been happening just today, but it's not just today, is it, Paul? It's been consecutively since they came to government last July, and we've seen Keir Starmer renege on so many of his manifesto promises. He's bashed the pensioners, on the farmers, on raising national insurance for small-sized, medium-sized businesses. When you think of what Rachel Reeves has done. Now, if anyone should go, I know Angela Rayner's gone, and rightly so, it's that woman, Rachel Reeves. What an absolute disaster of a woman. The woman couldn't work with an abacus to work out the economy of our country. And, she talked about a £22 billion black hole. Well, she's increased it by about another 50 million.
They're unbelievable. They are just simply... You couldn't write this as a script. So if you was to write this as a script for a sitcom, no one would believe it. It wouldn't have any credibility. Richard.
Which one? Which one? There's two dicks on here. That's all I'm going to say. There's two dicks on this. Richard, how are you, mate? We haven't met before, but I've been...
Yeah, Richard, good, mate.
I'm loving it. I'm loving what you're doing. You've been smashing out the ballpark. And are you ready for government?
Well, I'm more ready than David Lammy. I can tell you that. And Paul was just saying. I mean, if he can be deputy prime minister, I'm sure I can.
My granddaughter's more ready than David Lammy.
I was going to say I've got a Rottweiler sitting next to me here. He's more ready, but it's gone past the watershed, Richard. So I don't want to scare anyone, but there you go. This is our new deputy.
Oh, that's Idi Amin. That's not David Lammy. That's Idi Amin.
Oh my God!
There's not many people who remember who Idi Amin is, but some of our viewers would, because we got some fairly mature viewers, and we love all of them.
But let's have a little look at the level. Let's have a little look at the level of what we've got now. This guy is our deputy prime minister. He's going to represent the United Kingdom right across the world, right across the globe. Have a look at this.
David Lammy, what was the married name of the scientists Marie and Pierre who won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1903 for their research into radiation?
Antoinette.
Curie. Which fortress was built in the 1370s to defend one of the gates of Paris and was later used as a state prison by Cardinal Richelieu?
Versailles.
The Bastille. James Gandolfini played a mafia boss called Tony in which American television series?
Godfather.
The Soprano. Which variety of blue English cheese traditionally accompanies port?
Leicester.
Stilton. Who acceded to the English throne at the age of 9 on the death of his father Henry VIII in 1547?
Henry VII.
Edward VI. Which country's so-called Rose Revolution of 2003 led to the resignation of its president, Edward Shevardnadze?
Yugoslavia.
No, it was Georgia.
Who came up? Boys, get this right. Ready?
That's gold. That's gold.
Who came after Henry VIII? Henry VII?
What's more worrying? He couldn't tell the difference between Georgia and Yugoslavia. You know, I mean, like, you know, he was the foreign secretary until today, and now he's the deputy prime. So if the worst thing that could happen happens and Keir Starmer takes a bullet, then David Lammy's the man. You know. I mean, David Lammy, JD Vance, David Lammy, JD Vance. Which one are you going to go for?
I'm more kind of bemused by the fact he got the cheese question on report. I mean, how can you get that wrong? Or the Sopranos against the Godfather? I mean, you know, doesn't the guy actually watch anything on TV at all? I mean, does he actually watch any films? Did he get out?
Well, here's the thing. I watched that and I thought, right, let's be honest, Paul. How many of those questions would you have got right? And it was 4.
Yeah,
I got 2. I got 2.
and I'm a proper thicko, right? And I would have got 4 of them right. I mean, oh my good God, whatever next. Boys, listen, a friend of mine's been out fishing today in the English Channel. He's been out all day on a boat. There's his catch.
Oh, dearie.
You gotta love it.
I wonder where them passports are from.
Don't ask David Lammy, that's for sure.
No.
Don't ask David Lammy to point them out on a map.
Richard, your reaction today, first of all, to the Ginger Growler, our dearly departed former deputy PM, homes in London, Brighton, Hove, God knows where else. What's your reaction to her? First of all, to her getting, you know, pushed out or resigning, whichever, probably a bit of both. But secondly, all her colleagues on the front bench backing her up until 10 minutes before she went.
Well, I mean, she's an icon of the British working class, Paul. You know, she's a feminist icon. You know, I think it's just that the only reason she's been pushed out is because she's a woman. She's got ginger hair. She smokes cigarettes in a dinghy. I think it's disgusting what they've done to Angela. I'm shocked. Don't forget, I'm appalled. I'm appalled.
A disabled son as well. Don't forget that one. I mean,
well,
they've
used everything they could find in the book, really, haven't they? To be brutally honest with you, but no, I mean, look, it doesn't. To be honest with you, the problem with the Fabian Society, or sorry, the Labour Party, is it doesn't really matter who's prime minister because they have exactly the same policies, they have exactly the same ideology. They're all robots. They're all coming out with the same mantras. To be fair, actually, Angela Rayner, she's a complete pillock. She's probably quite dangerous, but she was actually a bit of fun. You know, she did some stupid stuff, didn't she? You know, she was going to raves and she was, you know, in rubber dinghies with a fag hanging out of a gob. I mean, you know, she would have done well in Coronation Street about 30 years ago. Do you know
I was going to say she'd have made a great Coronation Street.
Hilda Ogden, you know.
Yeah. Unbelievable. But I mean, look, we've now got a deputy PM that believes. What have I written down here? A man who has referred to people who believe in biological reality as dinosaurs and people who voted Brexit as Nazis and claims that men can grow a cervix.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just obviously for most normal thinking people, we just look at that and think, what a load of crap. I mean, you know, and this, as you said, he's one of the second highest officers in the country. And you know, and he holds to these views, and people like us, many people that were part of the Brexit, era, we voted for Brexit, to accuse us of being Nazis. I mean, and he's shown himself to be a white racist many times. I mean, remember when Trump came into office, he accused him of being a white supremacist and all that kind of stuff. But then he had to go with his tail between his legs as foreign secretary to go meet Donald Trump. I mean, the whole thing is an absolute joke, and I think. What people are seeing right now in the country, where they're looking at the cabinet as a whole that represent, of course, the whole of the Labour Party, right? They're the leaders in charge of the country, of the government. And they must be, if you voted for Labour, I can guarantee you right now, you're putting your head in your hands and thinking, what the hell have I gone and done? I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for this lot. And they're all over inflated on their CVs. None of them are qualified. If you look at some of the reshuffling, there's more people have moved today as well, not just with Angela Rayner coming out, with David Lammy and Yvette Cooper and others as well. If you look at their qualifications in some of these areas, some of them are underqualified. They don't even reach the benchmark of any quality. If they were going for a job, for example, and put in their CV, they wouldn't get to the interview stage. But they're given these positions because, as Richard has pointed out, they're just like robots. It's all scripted. They get told what to say, and everything else. And the whole thing with Angela Rayner, because Richard mentioned it as well, from a working class background, but she's become a millionaire off the backs of hard-working taxpayers in this country. Let's not forget that. It's not she's been a successful businesswoman. She's done it through the tax system off the back of hard-working taxpayers. Yeah. And I think the other thing for me, Paul, the big thing for me with Angela Rayner is the hypocrisy. If there's one thing people cannot stand in politicians, it's hypocrisy. And this was a woman that attacked the Conservative Party for their dodgy tax dealings, tax avoidance. I think Richie Sunak in particular on the Don tax. And there's evidence of her spouting it out. It's double standards, one rule for them, one rule for us. Well, she was doing exactly the same. The hypocrisy it stinks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mind-blowing. I mean, to be honest with you, I was running out of words earlier on when I was trying to put this together tonight and writing down what I wanted to say. I'm running out of things to say about these people. They are the archetypal bunch of chancers. That's what they are. These people are all chancers. Now, grifters is not a word that I particularly like because I think the word grifter is thrown around far too much. If you earn a few quid here and there, you're a grifter, according to some people, right? But for me, these people are, again, they personify the word grifting. Every single goddamn one of them.
Yeah.
And we've got another move today was Steve Reed, now in charge of the work to produce an Islamophobia definition, supports the 2018 definition, which said talking about the R gangs is Islamophobic. And he said that we must deny the historical fact that Islam was spread by the sword. Yeah. I mean, and to make matters worse, welcome to our new Home Secretary.
Shabana Mahmood. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's frightening what's happening, but I think the reality is it all works in our favor because the British people know what's going on. Now, I must say, I'm going to be careful how I phrase this, but there's got to be a lot of people that voted Labour that are either completely and utterly devastated with the decision they made, or they really need to go and see a psychiatrist. It's one of the two, because Angela Rayner said infamously, called the Conservative Party Tory scum. Right? Yeah. Now, I've never liked the Conservatives, never voted Conservative in my life. I don't support the Conservatives, never had. Right. But, for a leading politician who was then Deputy Prime Minister to call the opposition party scum, I mean, it's just not British politics. It's not the way we're meant to be, is it? Can you imagine Ben Habib calling anybody scum? Whether it's the Tory party or the Reform or Labour, it's just not in his vocabulary.
I'll be honest with you, Richard. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to slightly disagree in the respect that, you know what, vocabulary doesn't bother me so much. If it's coming, Angela Rayner is was working class, right? And they do speak differently. And people like Tommy speaks differently. I speak differently. Lee says, great interview with the Toughs, by the way. That's obviously for you, Richie. But it's the hypocrisy. Yeah. It is the hypocrisy. It's they've been taking the piss royally out of everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, but sorry, Paul, I was going to say on Richard's point there, I mean, they're doing us all a favour, and when you think about what they're doing right now, they're actually amplifying. Yeah, absolutely. Every measure, not just on our economy, on the mass immigration, uncontrolled. We're a small island, and it's not a question of compassion is a question of capacity. We don't have the room. We need to breathe. Our country and our nation has been suffocated, and now we have, someone in charge of immigration who herself is a Muslim. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not against all Muslims. I need to make that very clear. However, we have seen the demographics in our country change as we have seen huge swathes of people with a religion and a culture and an ideology that is not compatible with Western values,
Yeah.
that doesn't respect our history or our culture, and it is actually changing society, not for the better. When they're allowed to have Sharia laws and Sharia courts independent of British law, and they rule under that, where they subjugate people to certain rules and regulations, which they do, and their women in particular. It's an barbaric, it's an ancient religion. The Quran itself, they claim to be the word of God, so there's no room for debate. And in a democracy, there should always be room for debate. However, we're seeing the infiltration of this in our education, in our parliament, hence the Jezbollah party, which maybe Angela Ray might join them, actually, now you never know. And we're seeing this happen. Now we have Shabana Mahmood, who actually, if you remember, one of her key roles before she got promoted to this position was she was in charge of the prison service. And if you look at the prison service in this country, something I know a lot about because I run rehabilitation centres for many, many years, here in England and in Wales. And the overcrowding population in our prison system is not solely because of foreign nationals. By the way, we have 15,000 foreign nationals in our prison who should be deported immediately and face justice in their own country.
Absolutely.
But the overpopulation is for the simple reason that they don't understand how addiction works, because 90% of people in prison are there because drug-related offences, okay? They don't understand that rehabilitation is a key in a part of the process to get someone rehabilitated, resettled, rehoused, and then back into work. There is no scheme out there. They're all charitable organisations that do their best. The government have turned a blind eye to it, do nothing about it. The Justice Department is a joke. I'm not going to talk about two-tier justice because we know that exists already. And now she is heading up, she'll be in charge of the borders and everything else, and asylum seekers coming over in the hotels. And she's going to favour a certain minority group. Of course she is. This is someone who swore herself into Parliament on the Quran, which, by the way, Parliament was established on the Christian constitution, whether it be culture or otherwise. The Bible is in the dispatch box. We stand on Christian values in this country, whether we go to church or whether we are not. These are the fundamental foundations of our country, our moral compass that guides us. And I think that has been abused because we're tolerant as a Christian nation. That it's now been abused, and now people are waking up to that and saying, "Hang on a minute, we've turned enough cheeks now. It's time we stop this, and we've got to do something about it." And hence, here come Advance UK.
Yeah, well, absolutely right. And I mean, that's the sort of rhetoric everybody wants to hear, Richard, because the truth of the matter is, I would say probably 70% of the British population would agree with the monologue that you just given, 100%, because our country is a Christian country. Whether you're a Christian or not isn't the issue. The issue is that our country's values are fundamentally Christian. And I think that's what people are realizing, that the problem here is actually, it's not a problem of skin color. It never has been a problem of skin color. I served in the army with lads that were Jamaican background, West Indies background. They were just one of the lads, and even some of the Muslim lads from places like Somalia, they were very anglicised, and they weren't walking around with skull caps on, with the top lip shaved, and wearing a dress on a Friday afternoon to go to the extremist madrasa. And that's what's happening up and down the spine of this country. And it would take us to actually have a very close look at what's happening in Burnley, in Bradford, in Bolton, in Blackburn, all those northern cities. I mean, it is frightening, and we're kind of all insulated from it because we're all kind of out of the way. But I think what's happening especially with the hotel protests and the sort of dispersion, they've got this thing now that they call it the dispersion, and what they're doing is they're taking them out. The hotels are really a smokescreen, because what they're doing is they're putting these illegal migrants into HMOs dotted up and down the country. And that is how your demographics change gradually. So all of a sudden you wake up one morning and 2 doors up, the little rented house, there's 3 Syrian kids come running out into the streets. And you go, where did they come from? And it's being done by stealth. So in a way, we're almost better having them in the hotels. I know this is going to sound counter to
Richard, I said the same thing the other day. Obviously we stand by the people of Epping, we stand by everyone that is on these demos, etc. But there is a view and there is a point to keeping these people in one place so we know exactly where they are.
Yeah.
I was going to say who they are. We haven't got a bloody clue who they are, but at least we know where they are. But what I believe that these people, whilst they're in these hotels, should be under a curfew. They shouldn't be allowed to leave the grounds.
I agree 100%. If they come in, they should be basically if they haven't used hotels, they become holding centres, and they're not allowed in, or they're maybe allowed in, out for exercise. I know that sounds harsh, but they are criminals. They've come in here, they've broken the law. They're not asylum seekers. If you're an asylum seeker, they should have sought asylum in France. If they get refused asylum in France, that doesn't mean they can come to England and claim asylum. I think that the hotel thing is a massive smokescreen, and to be brutally honest with you, it's not even just them putting them in HMOs. It's what happens then when they start applying for asylum and they go through that process. They get leave to remain, or they launch an appeal if they don't get leave to remain. And I want to know what's really going on in that system, because I think it's 65 to 70% of these illegals are getting asylum. And I just don't believe that can be. In France, it's 25%. So that's something that if Advance come into power, and obviously Richie's on here tonight, let's talk a bit of politics. Yeah. If Advance come into power, that whole asylum system needs to be looked at. Yes, we get rid of all the illegals first. They're gone. They're gone straight away. But then we've got to dig down into the ones that have been granted leave to remain. And I spoke to Ben about this yesterday, and Ben was superb on it when I asked Ben this question.
Yeah.
He said, no. He says, we're going to get rid of that.
Absolutely.
Go, So, and this is what people have got to understand. Farage ain't going to do that. The Tory party ain't going to do that. The only party that's going to do that is Advance UK. And if I can, Paul, I don't want to monopolise this, but I said this to you already, I think. I'm very concerned about Restore Britain. And I'll tell you why. It's not Rupert. Rupert's a great guy. But I've looked at some of these young guns that are running around with Rupert, Charlie Downs, Harrison Pitt. They seem to be power hungry, not necessarily salvation of the country hungry. It's like they want to get political power, and I believe this is what their game is. And again, I've just done 2 videos on this, and I put them up on Twitter, on X and my YouTube. And I believe what the game is, that they're going to try and have a pact between the Tory party and Reform. And because, Charlie Downs is saying there's no room for a third party. There's no room for a third party on the right. And the Tory party and Reform are becoming the same thing. In fact, Reform's actually becoming wetter than the Tory party. It's absolutely horrendous what's happening, and the way people have been gaslit and lied to. In fact, Richie, you put something on Twitter, and it was, I can't remember her name, that mayor of Norwich or Norfolk or whoever she is, came on and started singing this absolutely bizarre song about being an insomniac. Do you see that? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I was like,
it was at the Reform Party conference. I mean, I watched. I thought I was watching. I thought I was watching Eurovision Song Contest. I really did. I thought to myself, I'm glad I didn't go to that conference. I mean, it's unbearable, mate. Honestly, it was absolutely awful.
Because I thought, why is Richie shared something? Because I thought, if Richie shared it, there must be a reason why he shared it here. So I clicked play, and it was just this crazy woman. It was like a really bad X Factor audition. You know when they have, when they have. Here's Angie that works in Aldi, and she comes on these things, and it's like, your ears are bleeding, and Simon says,
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Richard, to go back on 2 points if I can on that. The talk about the hotels and moving them. The Labour Party have talked quite strongly about shutting down the hotels for migrants. So the question then is posed then, so where are they going to move them to? And you've mentioned HMOs, which is becoming a massive problem. Now, what I know for a fact is that many of these landlords who own HMOs have been offered double the rent that they would get for a normal British citizen, for an immigrant that they would take in, asylum seeker, plus a 7-year contract upfront guaranteed payment. That's been headed up by companies like Serco and others, which BlackRock are involved with as well. There's a whole agenda behind all of this that is funding and funneling these asylum seekers into our country. It's been enabled by our government. And I've said this consecutively on our own podcast on Lands of Saints and Sinners, which I'm part of a team here in Wales. And we've always said that this is not their fault. This is the government's fault. The government have allowed this to happen. The Conservatives were just as bad, so they can't point the finger. Labour are just as bad. Reform are pretending to be the answer because there's been no other alternative up until now. And unfortunately, we have watched what Farage has become. He's a political chameleon, and he has changed because he realizes he's won, maybe in his head, I've won the right side of the board, that right side of the argument. Now I need to appeal to the centre and to the left. And, he's appeasing all these people. Zia Youssef was appointed as the head of policy making today. They made an announcement. Now, how is that democratic? He's not even an MP. But, yes, you can have someone heading policy, getting civil service, but surely there should be the members have a say in the party, and they don't because they're not democratized. Going back to the HMO thing as well, I really believe that we're going to see large number of landlords give in to people, because it's about the money, and unfortunately it's going to really, really devastate some of our beautiful communities in this country, including Wales as classed as a nation of sanctuary. And these are people... sorry, Paul, go on.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, I don't think the nation understands what's going to come their way if we don't get this sorted out. I really don't.
If we don't win into
people watching this do. People watching this stream do.
Yeah.
By the way, we've got over 3,000 people. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Paul. Amazing.
Unbelievable. Love to you all. Thank you. I mean, if people watching this stream, they're awake, but I'm afraid there are millions of people out there today, and I saw a load of them at the Reform Conference, with all due respect. Very Virgo said, I love the Reform Conference today. You know what? It made me feel sad, and I'll tell you why. Because Reform are the party that Reform, or I should say, Advance are the party that Reform should have been and could have been, but are not. And they will let us all down. That is my belief.
They've already let us down, Paul. And I mean, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. I mean, I
from day one, right from day one.
Right from day one. Because you see, and Rich will probably remember this, when we took over UKIP in 2018, we had Gerard Batten as leader, and we got Tommy in, and we got the football lads in, and we got the veterans in. I mean, we had a real fighting force there, and we had a real chance of doing something. And Farage and his cronies gutted it like a fish and literally took us apart block by block. You didn't even see it coming. And Farage didn't even get his fingers dirty. He just used his minions, and some of them are still in UKIP today. So that's another story. But so the reality is Farage. I mean, Gerard Batten told me that Farage has basically been. What can I say without getting sued? Well, I'm not going to say anything. But Gerard Batten told me a few things about Farage. I'm not going to say any more than that. But the reality is that all of these parties need to be completely destroyed. And the only way you can do that is having a political force. And this is where I get back to Restore again. My appeal to Restore and those young guns in Restore is don't go for the power, don't go for the short-term gain, go for the long-term hard graft pain and throw your lot in with us lads. Because I respect Charlie. I like Charlie Downs, right? And I'm being a critical friend of Restore here. I'm looking at Charlie. I'm looking at Harrison Pitt. I think Connor Tomlinson's probably involved as well. Those guys are very smart guys. And there's other guys in the background that we all know who are kind of in that little clique. But Reform ain't the answer. Reform are not going to do what you want them to do. You might get power. You might win an election. But I'm telling you that if you win that election, it'll be a Pyrrhic victory, because the reality of the situation is that it's going to fall apart. And then you might even have the dreadful thing of going to the Lib Dems or the Labour Party or even a Corbynite party. We need a radical party winning that election in 2029. And the only thing on the table, UKIP ain't going to do it in a million years. Britain First ain't going to do it in a million years. They know they're not going to do it as well. So they really should just pack up and give it up, to be honest with you. Talking about grifts, I mean, that's, if you're doing something where you know you can't win, what's the point in doing it? The only party that can win this is Advance UK. And if you're not behind Advance UK, you're not reading the room, and you really need to sit down and think about what's going on. Anyway, another party election broadcast for Richard, from me. I can't help myself.
Yeah. On that point as well, see, the reason why people are going to Reform as well, because there's been no alternative until now, is it? That's the reality, right?
Yeah.
And I think what people are seeing as well, because Reform have been polling so high, and because, of course, we're just about to, closer to that magical number of 30,000, as you know, then we'll register the Electoral Commission, then we'll start doing our polling and everything else, then we'll start hitting the polls, then we start hopefully get some mainstream media coverage, who knows? You consider we have not been able to use those levers available to us, mainstream media, even GB News and Talk TV. Lots of us have been cancelled off there because, we know that GB News is the Farage show. Let's be quite frank about it. He's their greatest asset. I mean, Ben Mead's not been on this since he announced Advance UK. Rupert Lowe's in a bag on him by the looks of it. I mean, I used to be on it quite regular. I've been cancelled for whatever reason I don't know. I don't get all upset about it. It is what it is, right? We get bigger viewing figures on all the podcasts we do collectively together. So, this is a new form of media. But I think when you look at what Regan were doing, is they're actually, you look at what happened at the local council elections. They got loads of people elected who haven't got a clue what they're doing. They were pulling people out of pubs, and they were getting elected, and they were like 18, 19 years of age. And this is not against young people, because we need them in politics and we need them in advanced UK.
Yeah.
But then to put them in charge of budgets of £5 to £10 million, and you ask them a question, about the OBR, and they think it's an Xbox computer game. They don't know nothing about the economy. They haven't got a bloody clue. And so, they're chucking everything. And they did this before with the Brexit Party. They didn't have a clue what they were doing. So I think what you'll find, and this is very important for people to understand, we're on the edge of not sure. You're with reform right now. You're not sure. Look, we're 4 years out. Possibly there might be a snap election. Okay, 4 years out from the next general election. Okay, a lot can happen in 4 years. They have spiked too early. If you look at how political trends happen, and I'm not, one of these political geek in that sense, but I do watch the trends. They're peaking now, but we're 4 years away from an election. And to peak this soon, I wouldn't get too excited and overall thinking this is a foregone conclusion, because people are thinking in their mind. I've seen it on social media. There's no other party. Reform are the only ones to get rid of Labour. The only ones who can get rid. No, I'm telling you now. In the next 4 years, there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen and come out in the wash, and people are going to see what they really are. And and I think that's important to understand as well.
Totally agree, Richard. I mean, and that's the thing about it. I think, what I'm seeing in chats. Paul, do you remember when I got a lot of flack for digging out reform. I took some real heat in the comments.
And from me,
from everybody. Everybody was like, Richard, you're mad.
We didn't agree, did we?
No, we didn't. And look, with this, but the problem was, Paul, I didn't have an answer then, because people were saying, okay, don't vote reform, and I joined UKIP. Big mistake, but anyway, joined UKIP again for the second time. Once bitten, twice shy, and all that. And I realised very quickly realised UKIP wasn't the answer. And no disrespect to Nick, he's a great street activist, but he ain't going to be prime minister, not in a million years. It's just not going to happen, So I realised that we need an alternative, and I was seeing there's just nothing there. And I was getting quite despairing, to be honest with you. And I said to Ben, must have been. And I think, by the way, Elon had a lot more influence on Ben than I ever did. So, but I said to Ben, it must have been March time or something like that. I said, look, Ben, I says, I'm really, if you start a new party, I'll join. I says, I'm on the NEC of UKIP, but I'll just wrap that up and I'll come over. You know what I mean? And I was just, praying that he did start a party. And it is an answer to prayer, because there's something about Advance that I look at it and I go, I have every confidence in that team, because I've watched everybody. I know you, Paul. I know David. I've watched you, Richard. And I look at everybody and I go, yeah, these are real people. Then there's no BS. They're proper people. They basically love their country. A lot of them are Christians, good morals, good people. I can back that all day long. You know what I mean? And I will back it. And I have never, even when I was in UKIP the first time, I didn't promote it as much as I'm promoting Advance now, because I didn't have that passion for it.
Yeah. No, we really believe in this. Hazel Pethick, hi, good evening, Hazel. Thank you. All the people involved with Advance are really impressing me. Finally, a party of integrity and true patriotism. Thank you very much for that, Hazel. Richard, one of the things I'll confess to something here, guys, right? When you spoke about Charlie Downs and that earlier on, the young guns hanging around with Rupert. When Ben invited me to join the college, I said, Ben, you know what? I really, really appreciate that, and I'm truly honoured. But if you think that I'm not right for your image, please tell me, and I'll happily do exactly the same amount of work behind the scenes without being a part of the college. I don't need any thanks or recognition. I don't need any rewards. All I want to do is win back our country. And Ben insisted, no, he said, absolutely not. But the point of the matter is that to those guys that are, perhaps more thinking about themselves and their own careers, their own futures. No. The one thing that matters right now, well, as always mattered, is our country and our children and their futures. Everyone's got to put their egos and their ambitions to one side and fight for the right thing, the same thing. And that's why I'm so disappointed with a lot of people, and I'm not going to be as crass as to start naming them, but I'm disappointed.
We all know who they are.
We all know that they are. I'm really disappointed that a lot of people, social media guys as well, whilst I'm at it, there are social media people out there that really should be doing their bit for Advance, but they're not. They're sitting on the fence, or they're not saying anything at all. Come on, guys, where are you?
I mean, I think as well. I mean, again, what we don't want to do is sow division, but I'm very disappointed in a lot of people, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say any more than that. There's people that I thought, well, I believed were actually supporting Advance that didn't support Advance when it launched, and I think that was pretty reprehensible. And I'm not going to say any more about who they were or what, but I don't know why. I can't understand it.
Well, they're hedging their bets. It's very simple. They're hedging their bets.
Well,
yeah.
Listen, I mean, you snooze, you lose. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's very sad. But I don't think we need to look at that, though, Paul, because I think there's that much momentum in Advance that we don't need to really worry about what anybody else is doing.
There is, Richard. I'm just questioning.
I think we've got to understand to go from a standing start to 30,000 members in that period of time is, I would guess, unheard of in British politics. Yeah. I would guess that's never happened before in such a short space of time. From absolutely nothing to have, 30,000 members. I didn't think we'd do it in this amount of time. I thought we'd knock on Christmas before we got the 30,000. To be honest with you. So
by the way, can I just add, because I don't want anyone to take that the wrong way. I'm not fed up with people who are not openly supporting Advance, because that's their prerogative.
Yeah.
The people that I'm a bit fed up with are the ones that have said they will and haven't.
Oh, that's what I'm on about too.
Yeah. I think what's important to note as well, something Richard just said there, Paul, and going back to your point as well in a moment, what Richard mentioned about the momentum. I mean, I am absolutely, bowled over by the strength of feeling, because I've been on the ground, I've been out on the streets, right, not just on social media. I can tell you, people are so excited about Advance UK. We held a small little gathering in Carmarthen this week, in South Wales, and we met some members there. There was about 30 odd there, and more people joined the party in a pub. It was an informal social gathering, not a planned political rally, nothing like that. It's to get together, a couple of drinks. I got up and said a few words. Paul Burgess came there. He gave a lovely speech on net zero and all that kind of stuff. He's an expert in. And people joined, and it was wonderful. And, as we're traveling throughout Wales in particular, we're meeting so many people of all ages, of all political backgrounds, some non-political. In fact, there was a guy there I spoke to who wasn't involved in politics at all. His wife brought him. She was a former Reform kind of person, and he loved it. And he said, "Where do I sign?" So, when you take your head out of the kind of the Twitter sphere, if you like, or the internet, if you like, and which is great, by the way, and get out there, the people out there are looking for this party. And they're finding us. And I think it's important, it's so imperative that we get out there as much as we can. And I think, I know it's coming. We're going to be holding big rallies and big events in the future so we can get out there. It's important. But I think the crucial part for me is that every single member within Advance UK is important to us. And I think that is the unique difference, whereas in Reform, you are a number, you are a subscriber on a ticker, and that's all that matters. Your voice doesn't get heard. You don't have an identity within the party. And I think Ben wants people to rise up. He will put the country before party and himself. He's proven 100%. That in so many ways. 100%. And when it comes to those that don't get involved, hey, listen, we don't need them. It's fine. Listen, because what we're building, our mission statement, sovereignty, democracy, equality under law, nation state, that within itself is enough. I mean, look, Ben even said if Farage was to run on this ticket, he'd hand it to him and say, go for it. But the reason why he started the party is because Farage is not the man that he once was. And it's really sad to see, because we know the guy. Some of us met him, not just met him, know him. Richard Tyson and Dave Bull, friends of mine who I'd lost to do with in the past. But politically, they've changed. And I think what's important now is we're seeing people join the party on a regular basis, and it's becoming more apparent to them that this is the only alternative because there's a new party in town, and it's Advance UK, and that's the party Paul Thrutt broadcast already. But it's the truth. That's what we're seeing happening more and more. And the passion that I'm seeing in people, you, Paul, you, Richard, and many others across social media, Howard Cox and Jim Ferguson, and You know, Jeff Taylor, I've watched a few things he's done. All these different podcasters out there, and you know, they're excited. People are excited about Advance UK because now they've got something that they believe in, they can trust in, and I believe we're going to be not just a credible force in 2029, but we're going to be knocking at the number 10. I've always said Ben for number 10. Ben for number 10.
Richie, I tell you what, I mean, as David, David Rhodes obviously is massively involved in this. Good friend of mine, I've known for years.
Great guy.
And I said to David, says, what are you in this for? He says, Richard, I'm in this to win. I says, good. I says, so am I. I says, I'm not interested in getting a few seats in 2029. I want Ben in number 10 with a Trumpian majority. I mean, it can't have anything else. Nothing else is going to work. And that's why everybody in the chat, join Advance UK. If you're interested enough to be watching us at 10 to 11 at night on a Friday night, you're an activist. Even though you might not know it, you're somebody that we need in our party. So get on and join Advance UK. Even do it now. Just dive off the thing and just join up, because it's a 10. It's still a tenner. It's still a tenner. Because I'm going to tell you something, guys. I think we'll have 100,000 by Christmas. We'll be knocking.
But when you think it took Reform about 5 years to get to 30,000 members, you know, from their inception of the Brexit Party, somewhere around that, might be around 4 years maybe. And then obviously exploded there because Yusuf came in with his money and all that, bought his way into the party, and then they had this ticker thing, which is false, by the way, because I'm still on there apparently, and I resigned my membership from there about 12 months ago. I still get letters off them and emails anyway. On a membership card, really weird. But I cancelled my subscription and my renewal because they've taken money to the bank, which they do for a lot of people. But that's by and by. But what I'm really excited about is the positivity that we're approaching this with. Because it's so easy to go down the road of bashing Reform and Nigel and all that, because we don't need to do that necessarily because he's doing it himself. And people are waking up to it, Richard. And I think we got to sit back, just keep telling people we want an independent, prosperous United Kingdom in all of its part, Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and all this kind of stuff we've seen with raising the flag. Man, do you know what? I was driving through Birmingham, through Wales, through different parts of the country this last couple of weeks. I've been traveling the length and breadth all over the place, and I felt so. The pride that I found once again inside of it. I was like, this is my country, it's my nation. And I remember as a young kid, we used to have street parties, you know, for the Queen's birthday and all that. And we'd order the Union Jacks and we'd have disgusting sandwiches and cold sausage rolls on tables in the streets. And, you know, we don't see that much anymore. And it brought all that back to me. And I was like, I got started getting emotional. I mean, this is what we're fighting for. It is the freedom of our speech that's been taken away. It is our democracy that's under threat. And our sovereignty has been influenced by international powers. They've got their tentacles in domestic politics. We want nothing to do with them. We're a proud, independent, prosperous nation. And that's what we're all fighting for. And that excites me, man.
Our family has been under attack, and it's time to take care of our family. Let me get through one or two of the chats. Guys, if I've been smiling whilst you've been talking about because I've been reading some of the chats. I've got a message here. I'm not going to tell you who it's from, Richard, but you can guess.
Oh, good night. Come on.
It says, Paul, can you ask Richard, has he been using Just for Men hair dye?
No, I don't use hair dye. I don't dye my beard. I don't dye my hair. No, not at all. Not at all. No.
That's that one out of the way.
I need a hair transplant, I think, that's for sure.
A head transplant was that, or a hair transplant? Head or hair?
A head transplant, yeah. Both.
Jules Lloyd II. So, David Lammy will be running a country if Starmer is on holiday. Jules, don't send everyone to bed with bloody nightmares, mate.
That's
Nina,
another reason to join Advance UK.
Exactly. Nina Vanava, Paul, I was on a high most of the day until I heard his name. Then went straight down. God help us.
It's all right. We're here.
We're here to help.
We've got a plan.
Jackie Lee. Lammy will be the next PM by Christmas. That was the plan all along. Note to all going to Saturday. Please be on your best behaviour. They want unrest, but they're not going to get it, Jackie.
Can I just jump in on that, Paul?
Go on.
I think I haven't put the video out yet, but I made a video earlier on. And I think if anybody goes to the event on the 13th and causes trouble, they're a traitor. They are doing the left's work. They're doing the work of the enemy. They're not on our side. They're not on our country's side. And they will be judged severely, not just by the state. I mean, listen, if somebody goes and causes trouble on the 13th, Paul, right, what's going to happen is they're going to get arrested. Because there's nowhere to hide, there's nowhere to get away. There's, nobody's allowed to wear masks, right? So they'll have to be unmasked. If they go and they get masked, they're going to get the mask took off them, right?
Yeah.
By people in the crowd, by good-natured, football lads, veterans are going to say, get that mask off, you absolute moron, right? There's zero tolerance on any disturbance or any disorder. Anyone comes there and causes disorder, they will be dragged out of the place by proper patriots and they'll be sent on the way. It's as simple as that. So if you come with that idea of causing disorder or causing any disruption, it's not going to well for you. And then you'll probably get arrested by the police, charged with violent disorder and sent to prison for 4.5 years. Well, you spend your 4.5 years on a
4.5 years
wing.
And the rest.
Yeah, well, violence, I think it's about 4.5 years, isn't it? But violent disorder, you'll spend 4.5 years on the wing with your Muslim brothers, and you'll probably come out very sore and with your top lip shaved. So don't do it.
The Sheikh of Araby, my United Kingdom t-shirt arrived. Great quality and fast shipping to the USA. It's helping the movement too. Good luck on the 13th. Love from MAGA in the USA. God bless
lad.
God bless the USA and God bless our American brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for your support. Said it last night. Hazel again. Thank you, Hazel. It's like Starmer wakes up every morning thinking, how can I screw things up and wreck the country even more? He's dead.
It's got shark eyes.
I can't even imagine how he manages to go to sleep at night. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he must be living in a bubble. He must be living in some kind of illusion and thinking he's doing a great job, because you see some of his posts on social media, our government is delivering on this, we're delivering on that. And you look at what's actually happening and people must be thinking, what? Yeah. Is he on drugs? I mean, is he on something? Is he smoking the Jamaican Albon or something? Because the reality for what he is saying to what is actually happening are completely different altogether.
If you want some real entertainment, I enjoy looking at the replies. I mean, they're just hilarious. I mean, surely he can't. I doubt very much that he's actually posting them, and I definitely know he won't be reading the responses. But Hazel goes on and says he's dead behind the eyes and on another planet. Look, I'll tell you the truth, Hazel. Not many people know this, but he's actually dug up every morning and put back in the ground at night. Oh dear.
Well, where does this stuff end? Because it's constant. Tomorrow there'll be something else. The day after, this government. I mean, look, Blair was bad, right? This is a big competition because I've always believed Blair to be the worst prime minister in my lifetime, right? Given what we're seeing now, a lot of it is partly because of what he put into place in the 90s, right? But I think Keir Starmer is not far off, that just yet. I mean, if he had the length of term that Blair had in office, if Keir had that, my good. I mean, honestly, I bet I can't think about it. I'd have nightmares. The guy is an absolute disaster. And, I don't believe that we're going to get to 29. There's this real consensus now, isn't there? People think there's going to be a snap election. I mean, not right now. I know people get jump guns because of the reshuffle of the cabinet. They think, there's trouble in the middle. Not just yet, but I do think before 2029 it could be possible. And that is why I think the timing of Advanced UK is important, because we've got an awful lot of work to do. When under no illusions here, okay? It's going to take a lot of people to put their shoulder behind the wheel and to get out there and to grow the party and to make sure that we're ready to fight should there be a snap election. And I'm sure Ben has that in mind as well on the team.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I hear that, Richie, but I'm not sure. Why would the Labour Party go for an election? It doesn't make any sense when they've got such a massive majority. The only thing that could force that is if we have to go for an IMF loan. If the economy totally collapses under the weight of their incompetence, and we have to go cap in hand begging to the IMF to pay the rest of Angela Rayner's mortgage off. So I think
I think there's no vote of confidence in him. I mean, they've had divisions with Jeremy Corbyn and Diane Abbott and such forth. We know they're about. But I think if things continue as they are, and I remember many of the Labour MPs when I was watching PMQs and some of the debates are going, because I do actually watch it some of the times. I like to know what's going on in the Lion's Den, and I was watching it, and even some of his backbenchers, are very vocal against some of what Keir Starmer has set out. The policies on the winter fuel payment, for example, are going back now, I know, and lots of the policies put out there that he's faced opposition against. And I think, like the Conservatives, they had a rebellion within their party that led to a leadership election and then subsequently an general election itself. So these things aren't impossible. I mean, look, ideally, I wouldn't want a snap election personally, because I know things are getting worse simply because of where we stand as a political party. We need that time to get ready to put the structure in place to show people what we're about, that we are a democratic party and that we would fight for sovereignty and all the things that we stand for. And I think it's important between then and now that we continue with the trajectory that we're on.
No, I totally agree with that. I think we've got, just in case that does happen, because you never know. I mean, politics is a funny old game, isn't it? Things can happen, and if we end up in a snap election, we've got to be ready for that, no matter what. Even though we're a brand new party, we've got to be ready to have a really, really good show.
I don't think this nation, I don't think the people of our countries have got 4 more years of this lot left in them. I really don't. I just can't see them putting up with it for another 4 years. Something's going to give, and it will be something completely left field that we didn't consider maybe, but something will happen because it just cannot continue. It just cannot continue. It's insanity what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I think, Paul, to actually confirm that, if you look at what's happening out on our streets, if you look at ordinary citizens, you can see that the anger is palpable, isn't it? Not just with hotels and asylum seekers, but people are really pissed off with the way that this country is being governed. I mean, you can just walk down the street or in a pub or go to a cafe or wherever you go, shop, you talk to someone. I mean, we were speaking to an 85-year-old man just the other day who's joined Advance UK. I mean, him and his wife want to go out doing leaflet drops for Advance UK. They're in their 80s, he's 85 years of age. And he was like, you know what? I've had enough. I've had enough of what I've seen going on in my country.
Yeah.
I want to do something about it. Now, if an 85-year-old man and his blessed wife can do that, then surely, there's a generation of people out there that feel the same. And we can do this together. We've had countless people say to us, we're done with politics altogether. And now Advance has moved into the political playing field. They're like, oh, hang on a minute. This is something I can get behind. And I think that is a growing phenomenon. We're going to see more and more because people are pissed off with what's happening. And the anger is palpable. But look what happened during Raise the Flag. The patriotism we saw shows you, and yet we have the most unpatriotic Prime Minister in history who pretends to be patriotic because he's flying the St. George flag in his office. For goodness sake, wake up and smell the coffee, will you?
I'll tell you what, if you want to, do you know something? This is the amazing part. I mean, I'm out here in Benidorm, right, or close to Benidorm. I cannot walk 50 feet in Benidorm town centre without a Brit coming over to me saying, Paul, keep up the good work. Tell all the boys we love them. Sick of what's going on at home. It's an absolute disgrace. Every 50 feet, someone is stopping us and, moaning about the situation going on back home. But something else heard on the radio today, the Spanish economy is booming. And one of the reasons it's booming is because of the amount of rich Brits that are leaving the UK and coming to Spain.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be brief because I've spoken quite a bit. Actually, you know what? Before Ben asked me to get involved with Advance UK, I was considering leaving the UK. I thought, I've had enough. I'm done. I'm 50 now. I've got a private pension coming up in a few years' time. I can take out early, and I'm thinking to myself, buy myself a motorhome, travel throughout Europe. I'm not sure rejoining the EU, but travel throughout Europe, different parts of the world, and just because my kids are older now, I'm free. I can just travel. And I thought, but then when this happened, I thought, this is our last chance. So I decided, instead of leaving the country, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this one last go. I know, Paul, you had reasons for leaving for safety, which is different. I know that, right? For your view, I know your viewers know that as well. But for me, I was like, I'm going to sit back, walk into the sunset and say, thank you, God bless you, good night from me, good night from him. But then when Ben came on the scene and launched the party, I thought, you know what? Stuff this. I'm going to give this one last go. I'm going to go for this, and I'm going to give it everything that I've got. I'm going to put every ounce of energy into it because this might be our last chance. Because this is not about us now. This is about our children and their children's children and the future generations to come.
100%.
Because if we remain silent, then evil men will prosper. We have to speak up, stand up, and be counted. And that's what real men do, and protect our women and children, and see our communities restored again to the greatness they once were. to see, to see the industrialization of places again. So we become a country that's proud once again, that we are, innovators, that we're entrepreneurs, that we're making something happen to make Great Britain what it once was. And we can do it. This is our last chance. After this next election, there will not be another chance. And that is why it's so important right now that Ben Habib has launched the party.
I think that's the key, Richie. The key is that there is no second chance with this. If we don't do this, the country's either going to turn into a totalitarian state or an ungovernable, balkanized hellhole. That's what's going to happen. This is literally the last chance to save the country. Yeah. That's how serious it is, and that's why I'm taking it so seriously. And like I say, we go back to the 13th. I don't want to harp on about it, but we cannot. Well, do you know what? In fact, I'm going to rephrase that. There will be lots of bumps in the road. There'll be lots of mistakes made. And what we need to do in this party is be gracious to people around us. If you make a mistake or I make a mistake, Richie, we put our hands up, we say, do you know what? We've really blown it this time. And you keep going as a team and you go, right, well, let's learn from it. We'll not do it again. And because that will happen. There'll be things that we do. There'll be things that Ben does. There'll be things that I do. You do, Paul, Richie, all of us. I mean, I have no position. The good thing is I have no position in the party, so I can pretty much do what the hell I want, which is a nice place to be. But but the reality is, if somebody does mess up, we've got to give them the grace to recover from whatever mistakes they make, and then move forward, because that's what a team's about. It's not about burying, It's not about burying your wounded. You bury your dead, not your wounded. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a big thing that you don't see much in politics. There's no forgiveness in politics. And
here's the thing, Richard, and I'm sure that it's the same for Richie. I have not been instructed to keep my mouth shut or not talk about anyone or anything or discuss any topic. This is a party of genuine free speech.
Absolutely.
So let me get through one or two of the supers here. The Sheikh of Araby, thank you. The Young Restore guys. This is a good message. This one. The Young Restore guys want to follow the Canadian example, where their Reform Party merged with the Canadian Tories. Problem was, it saved the Canadian Tories, who stuffed out Reform. Same in the UK. Blatant, starting to like the cut of Nick Tanconi's jib. Thank you, Blatant. Andrew Esty, good evening, gentlemen. God's richest blessings to you all. Do you think advance will be ready for an early election, which is very likely?
We'll have to be. We'll have to be.
Well, I don't think we have any choice. Jackie Lee, Paul, please get Tommy and Ben on together. Do you know what? That's a good shout. I might just try and do that. Shangalus, what's your view on the Fabian Society? They are entrenched in all parts of government. They play the long game. Will take a big effort to dismantle. We actually discussed that in length on the stream last night. I mean, summing up, bad people.
Yeah. And Mahmood is part of the Fabian Society as well. She wrote an article back in 2016 for them on leaving the EU and how devastated it was. So so just to add that in there as well, because with her being appointed now in her new role, she is part of the Fabian Society, like many of them are. And we know all about it. I know you've exposed this kind of stuff before on your show, Paul.
Sorry, Sam, I'm just reading some of the messages. I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah, to talk about Shabana Mahmood, who's been appointed today to the office. She is part of the Fabian Society. She wrote a paper in 2016 on why we shouldn't have left the EU and etc. So I did some research a little bit early on her when the news broke, obviously. And so it's not just her. Many politicians are intrinsically involved in it, and we know what it stands for. We know it's a socialist kind of movement that it's embedded mainly within the Labour Party. Very, very hard left-leaning, and we know that the intentions of what they're trying to seek to do, it will not be good for our country, and it has no place in our society at all.
I think the thing is, it's not just the politicians, that there's judges, police officers, people right the way through the
teachers, university lecturers,
are involved in this movement. Yeah. And I mean, the logo says it all: a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's the logo. Believe that is absolutely not a myth. It's man. And I was amazed. I said this last night, but I'm going to repeat myself. I was amazed that Alex Phillips and Isabel Oakenshaw had not heard of the Fabian Society until yesterday. These are seasoned journalists going, really?
Yeah.
What have you been doing? Painting your nails? Come on.
No, she posted a tweet saying she didn't know what it was about, did she? And I sort of said it on the show as well. I've heard of this word, you pick these words up. I wonder what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're a journalist or, certainly you should have an idea of what it is.
Yeah, come on. I've known about that for years. I mean, it's just crazy.
DeWalt XRP, thank you. Ben should mention putting a £500 cap on car insurance for our young drivers. They and all their parents will join young people build our economy. Thank you for that. Steve, Richard, what can be done about the Fabian Society?
Well, I said yesterday maybe it should be banned. I mean, and I'm not joking when I say that, because it has very malevolent intent. I mean, people think socialism is just, sort of, looking after the poor and looking after the elderly. No. Socialism is state control of everything. And it does the opposite of what it claims it's going to do. Wipes out your religion, wipes out your individual liberty. And that's what they're trying to do. Wipes out your pride in your country. So socialism, Nazism was national socialism. Communism was international socialism. Socialism is bad, and we need to stop it.
Absolutely. Paul, just to say, I've got to leave at 11:15. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll be. Where are we? We've been on for an hour and 11. We'll be closing up soon. Let's have a look. You got 3 minutes left, Richie.
I tell you why. No. I'm normally in bed by 10 o'clock, right? Because my I think it was my grandfather said the devil works best after 10 p.m. So after the 10 o'clock news, we always used to go to bed, right? So it's past my bedtime already, and I'm getting older.
That's absolutely fine, mate. You can go whenever you like, mate. It's absolutely not a problem. Let's have a look. David Crosby. Paul, have you been sharing your Alexia with Richard?
No, it's just the lighting.
Robert hasn't got a point of view. No, not where he's going. He a member of Reform.
I'm puzzled.
No, don't get the question.
That's a bit of a medley there, I think.
Yeah.
Robert, thank you very much. Graham, thank you for all your hard work, gentlemen. I tell you what, I ran out of 2 batteries yesterday. Pierre, thank you. Found my political home in advance, priceless. Yeah, welcome to the family.
Yep.
Richie, if you want to dive out, my friend, because it is now 1:15, so it's been lovely having you on. Richie,
mate, fantastic.
No, Richie, before you go, come on my channel. We're doing an interview. We'll smash some really good questions out about Wales,
Brilliant.
about where reforms. Crumbs. See, when we first started doing this, right? As much as I hate reform, on the first few videos that me and Paul were doing, I kept saying, "Oh yeah, everybody's got to get behind reform." It was some sort of weird Freudian slip. Do you remember, Paul? So just deprogram a break because I never even supported reform. It was a brain fart. But let's talk about
we'll
Wales.
definitely do that. And thanks, and to all the viewers as well. Thank you so much for tuning into Paul's channel, and make sure you subscribe to it as well. And I'm sure you'd appreciate it. And share the good news that Advance UK is a brand new political party, and we're here to stay, and we're going to make a difference.
All the best, mate. Have a lovely evening. Have a good weekend. See you soon, mate.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye. What a lovely guy.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Really, really good.
Janine, thank you. All part of his treacherous plans, strings being pulled by his globalist leaders, not our country anymore, Advance UK, all the way.
Yep.
Pierre, power to the people. Thank you. And I think, is this the last one? No, a couple more. Jackie Lee, let's face it, one man has brought us together. God bless Tommy. He is the people's hero. Love the bones off him, and you, Paul. Thank you very much, Jackie. And yes, Tommy has done so much work, unbelievable. As the man on screen now as well, Richard. Richard's been there since day one, fighting behind the scenes, and he's come to the fore a little bit more recently because he's been on social media. But you've always been there doing the work.
Well, the thing was, Paul, I got back. I mean, the problem was, when we were working with Tommy in 2018, we all got completely vaporized. I mean, we all got cancelled. Like about 50 of us. There was it was like a sort of purge. Down to it, as far as I know, because of Yvette Cooper. She gave Zuckerberg a list of names, Google a list of names, and said, deal with these people. And Twitter back then, because obviously Twitter was owned by lefties then. And we all got completely whacked. And it was only when Elon came back that we got Twitter back, and YouTube for some reason started but my channel was demonetized. So I mean, my main channel, is completely useless, and that's why, again, anybody that's been supporting me, it's massively appreciated, because there's a lot of people putting the content out I'm doing, not, and I'm going to say it, Paul, not doing it as well. I believe a lot of them, and getting bucket loads of money, and I'm sitting, with the arse hanging out my pants because I've been cancelled. That's just the truth, and it's extremely frustrating. And I'm not bigging myself up, but I know I'm good at what I do. Do you know what I mean, Paul? And it's literally down to the cancellations that's basically caused me problems doing it. Or so I do a lot more,
Hazel, I'm moving house at the minute and was moving my TV, thinking how amazed I am it's still in one piece. Every time the Starmer droid 4000 appears, I want to throw something. Yeah, don't be throwing your TV, Hazel. That is not a good idea.
I can tell you a story about throwing
Varma.
TVs, but I'm not going to tell you.
Hi, Paul and all. Can we have the most right-wing government win, but the problems will come from civil service quangos, which will block everything? We got to out them all. We got to get rid of them.
They go. If they're blocking,
they got to go and get a proper job. They got to learn how to do a proper day's work.
Ben said something, because I said that to Ben yesterday. Says, how can we get through all this, all the quangos and the bureaucracy? Says Rich, it's very simple. If we win a massive majority, nobody can stand in our way, because they'll be standing against the will of the people. So the House of Lords will have to bend to our will. The courts will have to bend to our will. And if they don't, they'll get sacked, because they work for the government. They will get sacked. This is what
everyone has to understand. We hold the power. We just have to take it.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the naysayers saying, "Oh, you'll never do this, you'll never do that." Well, you know what? If you don't act, you might well end up being right. But we hold the power. We got to take it.
And do you remember, Paul? I don't remember. A few months ago, everyone was saying, "Oh, there's no political solution. We're never going to do it politically." Blah blah blah, and almost inciting, other stuff. And I kept saying, no. If enough people vote for these if we get a decent party, and enough people vote for that party, you can win, and you can change history. Yeah. Because we don't do it by war and revolution. We do it by the ballot box. But this, Paul, is the last chance to do it by the ballot box. I'm telling you that here and now. It's the last chance saloon. Richie said it himself. It's the last chance, and we've got to do it.
Alison, thank you so much. Neil B, thanks for the advice last night, guys. No problem at all, Neil. We're with you, brother. Cheers, Neil. Eugene
Neil, it's great to see you, on here and in a better frame of mind tonight.
Absolutely.
And look, we're not counsellors, we're not psychiatrists, we're not anything like that, but we do care. I know Paul has a real caring heart, and I care a little bit about everybody. But yeah, we do care. I mean, so when you're sharing stuff like that, we don't just discount it. And thanks for coming back and sharing with us that it helped you last night.
Talking about caring, a lot of people often ask me about our friend Alan, who's not been well or isn't well. I spoke to Alan, and I send messages to each other fairly regularly, and he's doing okay. He's been through a bit of a rough time, but he's still fine. God bless you, Alan, if you're watching.
Yes, absolutely.
And everyone's with you. Last super of the night, guys. Thank you so much for your support. What does the UK think of Ant Middleton? I like Ant. I want to see him as Mayor of London personally, but I'd like to see him standing for advance personally.
Well, listen, I would too, and I think here's the thing: he's going Farage and Reform are going to have absolutely nothing to do with that now, because he stood next to Tommy and held the Union Jack. And I want everyone to think about that.
Yeah.
I want you to just think about that picture, right? So there's two heroes of the United Kingdom. Ant Middleton's a hero. He might have had, made a few mistakes in life. Hey, guess the people sitting here have done exactly the same things, right? So he's maybe messed up from time to time. But the bottom line is, he's a hero. He was kicking indoors and killing terrorists while you were sleeping in your bed. And he was doing that so you could sleep in your bed, right? So let's think about that. But the other thing is, I've seen a few guys, special forces guys, come on the scene before. Great guys, but they were a bit sort of standoffish with the likes of Tommy, and they're a bit wary of what we were doing, probably because of what they were hearing from the establishment. Ant just jumped straight in there and said, look, do you know what? I'm going to stand with this guy because we're the same, And I spoke to Tommy about him the other day, and Tommy said he's not going to bend. You know, he said Ant Middleton will not bend. He is going to go for this full on, full steam. He's not going to. He doesn't care what anyone says. He's going to do what's right. So, by goodness, we need to get him into. We need to get him into advance.
You need to get your teeth in, Richard.
Oh, mate, don't. I mean, what is it? You know, it's saying the opposite of what I mean. But we need to get him into advance because he would be such an amazing asset. Imagine for Ant Middleton as Defence Secretary or Home Secretary. Come on.
Oh,
hey,
that's the stuff that dreams are made of. It. Imagine the street party that we could have.
Well, imagine. You know, his riot squad breaking up the street party afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yes, thousands of messages again, Richard, in the regular chat. Thank you so much to everyone. It's been lovely to have everyone on again tonight. How shall we end tonight? Shall we? I'll tell you what. We'll have 2 moments of despair, and then we'll have one of celebration. So we'll end tonight, I think, with da da da. We got that one. Then we got a loud scream.
Well, they're both together.
You could do the loud scream, but then we end up with one bit of blues.
Oh my goodness. Poor Angela. Poor Ange.
Poor Ange.
Did you see that? Did you see Beth Rigby?
I did, yeah. What an absolute joke.
I'm so upset about Angie. You know, I mean, like, that just, I mean...
She's supposed to be a professional, neutral journalist.
We don't pretend to be impartial. We're just, you know, we're totally partisan. We've got an agenda. We know what we're doing. We know why we're doing it. But they're pretending to be impartial journalists. And she's so upset about Angie, you know.
Trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. Yeah. The only problem is, Richard, there are still people out there stupid enough to bloody believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But there you go. Right, it's midnight here out in Spain, and I'm going to get off to bed. Richard, thank you so much for joining us again tonight. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining us again tonight. Before you go, if you haven't already subscribed, please make sure you do so. Also, give us a thumbs up. It really helps. And thanks for tuning in.
Another great stream, Paul. Well done, mate. Absolutely smashed it. Brilliant.
Well, look, it's not me, mate. It's the you know, you and the guys that come on, the guests, quality guests. I thought
Rich was great. I thought Rich was really sharp. You know, and again, like there was nothing he said tonight that I would disagree with.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
And like normally, you're not like Paul. You know, normally, you know when you've got a guest on, I'm kind of disagreeing because I kind of take my glasses on. I kind of start leering at him. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what. Let's finish on a real high, shall we?
Let's do it, man.
Ready?
David Lammy, what was the married name of the scientists Marie and Pierre who won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1903 for their research into radiation?
Antoinette.
Curie. Which fortress was built in the 1370s to defend one of the gates of Paris and was later used as a state prison by Cardinal Richelieu?
Versailles.
The Bastille. James Gandolfini played a mafia boss called Tony in which American television series?
Godfather.
The Soprano. Which variety of blue English cheese traditionally accompanies port?
Leicester.
Stilton. Who acceded to the English throne at the age of 9 on the death of his father Henry VIII in 1547?
Henry VII.
Edward VI. Which country's so-called Rose Revolution of 2003 led to the resignation of its president, Edward Shevardnadze?
Yugoslavia.
No, it was Georgia.
I can't watch anymore.
I got them all right, Paul, that time.
Leicester.
I got them all right, mate.
Which blue cheese is traditionally served with what? Leicester.
Red Leicester. Red Leicester.
Red Leicester.
I mean, that's the thing. It is red. It's actually called Red Leicester. You know what I
mean? And who comes after Henry VIII?
Yeah,
Henry VII.
Henry VII.
They're going backwards.
Pure quality. Even the Yugoslavia one. I mean, my goodness, you know.
God help us all, mate.
Couldn't get Georgia from Yugoslavia. I mean, you know. But the thing is, it's
guys, you know that song, things can only get better.
We'll have to get. We can't even sing that, Paul, so we get a copyright strike.
Oh, unbelievable. Guys, wherever you are across the world, have a lovely, safe weekend.
Yeah.
And as always, look after and take care of those beautiful children. They are our future.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon, guys. Adios.